Hi, my name is Gabby, and if you are new here, then welcome. I have been doing TikTok for over a year. I have been doing TikTok for a little over a year, talking about all things cozy, and I am officially starting my YouTube channel. So please subscribe if you're interested in this kind of thing. I talk about all things cozy, mostly gaming and reading, but the occasional other stuff as well. And I really just like sharing my favorite things with you guys, like Toothless. So for my first video on the channel, or first official video on the channel, I thought it would be appropriate to do a 2024 reading roundup of all my favorite books for 2024. So, starting off with a book that I've talked about many times on my TikTok, Paladin's Grace. Now this is a series by Kingfisher, and it's absolutely beautiful in every way. I only own the first one in a physical copy, but I have read all 4 of them, and I adore this series. This truly got me into reading again, and I am so grateful. I love everything about this. Now this is by far my favorite series of the year. My personal favorite of the series is the 3rd one, Paladin's Hope, and this series follows a group of paladins after they lose their god and have to figure out what life holds for them after losing their god, especially because they've dedicated their entire life to this god, and things are a little confusing for them. It does have a romance plot, but I would say that the romance is secondary to the main plot, which I love, and each character is unique, and this world is beautiful. If you're familiar with Kingfisher, she writes absolutely wonderful world building. I want to be a part of this world. I just love this so much, and the way she writes. Another series that I fell in love with this year is The Undertaking of Hart and Mercy and The Undermining of Twyla and Frank. And there's a 3rd one coming out this year that I'm extremely excited about. This book was lovely. I read it at the beginning of the year, and it really set the tone for everything. And then I was gifted The Undermining of Twyla and Frank after I did an arc for it, and I love both these books. Truly just beautiful characters. I would say that this is similar to Paladin's Grace, but the romance is a little bit more of the main plot for these, but again, beautiful world building. The first one is about an undertaker who falls in love with a marshal and has to bring her dead bodies all the time, and they don't get along. It's an enemies to lovers. And then the second one is a best friends to lovers, and all the characters are older, which I love, and it's just wonderful. The second book is actually about characters who are like in their 50s and divorced and have children, and it's just a different experience than reading traditional or modern romanticies. They're not really my vibe, so I adore these. I find them extremely cozy and warm, and I couldn't put these down. I read them straight through both times. Another series that I love this year was Assistant to the Villain and Apprentice to the Villain. Again, there's a 3rd one coming out next year. I loved the first one a lot. I thought it was campy in a good way. It's her first novel. I was extremely impressed with it. The world was captivating. I thought it was cute and fun and easy to read. Now I know that this fell flat for a lot of people, but I think if you go into this knowing that this is campy and fun and doesn't take itself too seriously, then you will like these books as much as I did. I do think that the first one was a little bit better, but I still love the second one, and I'm excited to read the 3rd one. So this series is about a girl who becomes an assistant and then apprentice to a villain. It is a sort of friends to lovers situation. I don't think that they're ever truly enemies, but she is sassy and fun and a very traditional female main character, and he is very traditional male main character of brooding and mysterious and not really a bad guy, if you get my vibe. So I thought these were wonderful, and I highly recommend reading them. Now, for other books that I don't have physical copies of but still loved this year, Swordheart by Kingfisher. Again, big Kingfisher fan. She writes beautifully. Swordheart is her other romance novel. Again, I would say that the romance is not necessarily the main plot of it. Older main characters, beautiful world building, same universe as Paladin's Grace, and absolutely wonderful characters that you can't help but root for. There's a non-binary character I love in that book, and the male main character is a Scottish warrior who's been trapped in a sword, and so it's a really interesting concept, and I just really liked everything about this book. I loved the adventure that they went on, and I think that it might be my favorite romance story that I read this year. Some other miscellaneous books that I read but really enjoyed this year were The Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. I adored this. I was really excited to read her new one, the Alien Cosmic one, and it did not hold up for me, so I'm gonna go back and read the other ones in the Mead Mishap series. It's very campy, so you have to make sure you're not taking it too seriously. I would say that it tends more towards romantasy than the other books that I like, but it was still really fun and not too much for me. It's about a young woman who happens to make an alliance with a demon, and they go on a quest together to free other demons, and there's just a whole lot there that's very interesting, and I really liked it. And it's way heavier on the romance and the fantasy element, so if you're looking for something that is truly a great fantasy, maybe stay away from that. But if you want a good, cozy romantasy, then I highly recommend it. Another book that I read and adored this year was A Rivalry of Hearts by, I don't really know how to say her name, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna insert a clip of me doing a voiceover so that I'm not butchering it.
It's Tessanja Odette. I don't know why I thought that was so hard.
This was my first introduction into her books. My sister actually loves them, and I don't know why I had never read any of her Fae Universe stuff before, but A Rivalry of Hearts was like a delightful hug, and it was truly a romance story with a fantasy back story. I would again say that it's not romantasy because it is pure romance. It just happens to be in a fantasy world. It's about two authors, one who is half fae and one who is human, who are competing for a book deal, and they decide to up the stakes and make a competition to see who can seduce the most people on their book tour, and whoever wins will get the book deal no matter how many sales that they end up getting. Now, chaos ensues very quickly in this because neither of them want to actually sleep with other people, because they're only attracted to each other, and so it's very cute and fun the way that they get out of seducing people even though they're trying to prove to the other one that they can do it. So I really enjoyed it, and I think that there are more in this series, and I'm really excited to read those, as well as go back and read the other ones in the Fae Universe by her. So if you've read any of her books, let me know, because I'm new to the world, but I really liked it so far. I think that is it for my roundup of my favorite books from 2024. I'm sure there were lots of other ones that I enjoyed, but these truly stood out to me. So I highly recommend that you check all these out. And if you have any books that are similar to these, please recommend them to me. I feel like I have a very strong preference when it comes to the books I read. I love a fantasy book with a romance plot, but the fantasy world has to be enticing for me, and it has to be well written, which is a problem I run into with a lot of fantasy romances. Also really value diverse characters as well as older main characters. I just find it much more relatable for me, and that's the reason that I want to read. So I would love if you could recommend me some books that are similar to these, or maybe I should read something different and branch out. So if you have any recommendations, just let me know. And I hope you stick around to see more of this kind of thing. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram as well, but I'm not sure what's happening with TikTok these days, so stay tuned for more YouTube videos, and thank you so much for watching.